balancing a tray of champagne flutes. I move like a shadow through the glittering ballroom. No one looks at me. Just another waitress in black, another invisible face in a sea of diamonds and silk. That was the point. To serve, to fade, to never be noticed. The air is thick with the scent of expensive perfume and wilting lilies, a cloying sweetness that sticks to the back of my throat. My black polyester uniform feels cheap and scratchy against my skin, a stark contrast to the couture gowns that drift past me like elegant, shimmering ghosts. Each flute I carry is worth more than my monthly rent, a fact that settles like a stone in my stomach. The weight isn't just the crystal and champagne. It's the eviction notice taped to my apartment door. It's stark red letters, a permanent fixture behind my eyelids. It's the final hospital bill for my father, a monument of debt so high it feels like a physical wall hemming me in. He left me his legacy, a tiny, struggling bookstore filled with the scent of aging paper and lost stories, and a mountain of expenses that legacy couldn't possibly cover. So I serve canapes to people who wouldn't spit on me if I were on fire, smiling until my cheeks ache, my own story fading with every polite nod, until he notices. His eyes find me across the crowded Gala, dark and unrelenting, a storm hidden behind calm. He stands near a marble column, a glass of amber liquid held loosely in one hand. He isn't the loudest man in the room, nor the most ostentatiously dressed, yet he possesses a gravitational pull that warps the space around him. Men in $1,000 suits lean in to hear him, their postures deferential, their laughter a beat too quick. Women watch him from behind their fans and champagne flutes, a mixture of fear and fascination in their gazes. He is the quiet center of this chaotic, glittering universe, and he is looking directly at me. I freeze under his gaze, the tray trembling slightly in my hands. It's not a casual glance. It's an assessment, an ownership. It feels as if he can see straight through the cheap uniform and the practiced smile, right down to the frantic, terrified pulse hammering in my veins. The noise of the room, the clinking glasses, the swell of the string quartet, the murmur of 100 conversations fades into a distant hum. There's only the weighted silence stretching between us, a taut wire of awareness. My breath catches. My instincts scream at me to look away, to break the connection, to melt back into the shadows where I belong. But I can't. I'm pinned, a butterfly under glass. A portly man with a florid face, Mr. Abernathy, the host of this opulent affair, approaches the man by the column. He gestures vaguely towards a line of waiting staff near the kitchen entrance, myself included. "Julian," Abernathy says, his voice oozing a sycophantic warmth. "My apologies for the delay. Which of the agency girls would you prefer for your personal service tonight? They're all vetted, of course." The man, Julian, doesn't break his stare from me. His gaze is so intense, it feels like a physical touch, tracing the line of my jaw, the nervous flutter of my pulse at my throat. For a horrifying second, I think he's going to point out a flaw, a smudge on my apron, a loose thread, and have me dismissed. It would be just my luck. Then, with a voice that is not loud but carries with the chilling authority of a death sentence, a voice that silences the room and sends every powerful man scrambling, he says two words that change everything. "Only her." The words slice through the ballroom's ambient chatter, Abernathy's jaw slackens. The other waitresses turn to stare, their expressions a mix of shock and envy. The invisible girl is suddenly, brutally visible. My name is Lena Bennett, and in his world, dangerous. Ruthless and merciless, that was the most dangerous place I could ever be. A low hum of whispers erupts around me, a sound like dry leaves skittering across pavement. My supervisor, a pinched-face woman named Carol, materializes at my elbow, her grip surprisingly strong. "You," she hisses, her eyes wide with a kind of frantic panic. "Go. Mr. Thorne wants you." Mr. Thorne. The name resonates with a vague, half-remembered dread from newspaper headlines and hushed business gossip. Julian Thorne. A corporate raider. A phantom who bought and dismantled companies with surgical precision. A recluse whose wealth was matched only by his reputation for utter ruthlessness. He was a modern-day king, and he had just pointed his scepter at a pawn. My feet feel like lead as Carol shoves me forward. The tray of champagne is taken from my nerveless fingers by another girl. I walk across the polished marble floor, each step an eternity. The sea of silk and diamonds parts for me, their curious, predatory eyes following my progress. I feel stripped bare, my cheap, sensible shoes squeaking softly on the floor, a sound of profound poverty in a room that reeks of old money. I stop a few feet before him, my hands clasped tightly in front of me to stop their shaking. Up close, he is even more intimidating. He's tall, dressed in a perfectly tailored black suit that makes him look like a creature of the night. His face is all sharp angles and severe lines, his jaw tight, his mouth a thin, unsmiling slash. But it's his eyes that hold me captive. They are the color of dark, old whiskey, and they hold no warmth, only a chilling, calculating intelligence. "You needed something, sir?" I manage to ask, my voice a pathetic whisper. He doesn't answer immediately. He takes a slow sip of his drink, his gaze never leaving mine. The silence stretches, thick with unspoken power. He is making me wait. He is teaching me my place. "I require a dedicated server for my table," he says finally, his voice a low, gravelly rumble that vibrates through my bones. "You will attend to me and my guests, no one else. You will speak only when spoken to. You will remain by my table until I dismiss you. Is that understood?" It's not a request, it's a decree. My throat is dry. I can only nod, a jerky, puppet-like motion. "Use your words," he commands, his voice dropping another notch, sharp and cold. "Yes, sir. Understood." He gives a faint, almost imperceptible nod and turns away, dismissing me as if I were a piece of furniture he had just arranged to his liking. He moves toward a secluded alcove where several other men are already seated, their faces grim. It's clear this is not a social gathering for him. It's a war room, and I've just been conscripted. For the next 3 hours, I exist in a state of suspended terror. I stand in the shadows of the alcove, a silent sentinel. I refill his glass before it's empty, the scent of his expensive scotch and a clean, sharp cologne filling my senses every time I lean near. I clear plates, my movements swift and silent. He never looks at me again, but I feel his awareness of me as a constant pressure against my skin. His guests, a collection of hard-faced men who speak in low tones about mergers and acquisitions that sound more like military campaigns, ignore me completely. I am a ghost again, but a ghost tethered to him. The conversation is a language I don't understand, leveraged buyouts, hostile takeovers, market vulnerabilities. But the tone is universal, predatory. They are sharks circling, and Julian Thorne is the great white at the center of their feeding frenzy. I listen, and I learn. They are planning to dismantle Abernathy's company, the very man who is hosting this party. Laughing and shaking hands just 100 feet away, blissfully unaware of the wolves in his house. A cold dread trickles down my spine. This is the man who has singled me out. As the gala begins to wind down, the guests thinning out, Julian finally pushes his chair back. His men stand in unison. He turns, his eyes landing on me once more. "Wait for me by the main entrance," he orders. "Do not leave." Before I can protest or even process the command, he strides away, leaving me standing alone in the alcove, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs. Wait for him? Why? My shift is over. I should be rushing home to my cold, empty apartment, to the pile of bills on my kitchen table. But the finality in his voice leaves no room for argument. It was not a suggestion. It was a fact. I would wait. I find a place near the grand arched doorway, trying to make myself small as the last of the guests collect their coats and drift out into the cool night air. The staff is clearing away the debris of the party, their exhaustion a palpable thing. Carol shoots me a look of pure venom from across the lobby, a look that promises retribution for whatever special attention I've garnered. I ignore her. My fear of Julian Thorne eclipses any workplace drama. The minutes stretch into a half hour. The ballroom is nearly empty now, a hollow, glittering shell. The string quartet has packed up their instruments. I'm starting to think he forgot about me, or that it was some cruel game. Hope, fragile and foolish, begins to flicker. Maybe I can just slip away. Just as I'm about to take a step toward the door, a long black car, sleek and silent as a panther, pulls up to the curb. A moment later, Julian Thorne emerges from the ballroom. He walks directly to me, his presence filling the cavernous entrance hall. He has a black overcoat slung over one arm, and he doesn't slow his stride as he reaches me. "Come," he says, his hand lightly touching the small of my back, a shocking point of contact that sends a jolt through my entire body. It's not a gentle touch. It's firm, proprietary, steering me out of the building and toward the waiting car. "Where are we going?" I ask, my voice trembling as panic begins to set in. "My shift is over. I need to go home." "Your employment at the catering company is terminated," he states, opening the back door of the car. The interior is dark and smells of rich leather. "You work for me now." My head spins. "Work for you? Doing what?" "I don't understand." He looks at me then, his expression unreadable in the dim light from the street lamps. "I bought your father's debt, all of it, the hospital bills, the mortgage on his bookstore, your personal credit cards. You owe me a considerable sum, Miss Bennett." My blood runs cold. He knows my name. He knows about the debt. This wasn't random. He targeted me. The floor seems to drop out from beneath me. The debt was my private shame, the monster under my bed. And he had just dragged it out into the light and put a leash on it. How? I'm a man who gets what he wants. And I wanted to know everything about the woman with the saddest eyes in a room full of liars, he says, his voice soft, almost conversational, which is somehow more terrifying than his commands. You will work off your debt. You will live where I tell you to live, and you will do what I tell you to do. Get in the car, Lena." He used my first name. The sound of it in his mouth feels like a brand. I look from his impassive face to the open door of the car. I have no money, no job, a mountain of debt that now belongs to him. I have no leverage, no power, no choice. My life, the sad, small, struggling thing that it was, is no longer my own. With a sense of fatalistic dread, I slide onto the cool leather seat. The door closes behind me with a solid, final thud, sealing me in the darkness with the predator who had decided to own me. The car glides through the city streets, a silent bubble of luxury cutting through the night. The windows are tinted so dark that the vibrant city lights are reduced to muted, blurry streaks. It feels like being in a tomb. I sit rigidly on my side of the spacious back seat, as far from him as I can get, my hands clenched into fists in my lap. My mind is a maelstrom of fear and confusion. How did he find out about the debt? Why go to such lengths for a waitress? What does he want from me? Julian says nothing. He stares out his window, his profile a stark silhouette against the passing lights. The silence is a living thing pressing in on me, heavy with unspoken threats and unanswered questions. I risk a glance at him. In the intermittent glow of the streetlights, I see the hard set of his jaw, the faint lines of exhaustion or stress around his eyes that weren't visible in the ballroom's soft lighting. He looks less like a king in this moment and more like a soldier weary from a long war. The thought is unsettling. It makes him infinitesimally more human, which is somehow more dangerous. A monster is simple. A man is complicated. What kind of work? I finally force out, the words scratching my dry throat. He turns his head slowly, his whiskey-colored eyes meeting mine. In the gloom. "You will be my personal assistant. I'm a waitress. I have a degree in literature. I don't know anything about being an assistant in your world. You can read, can't you? You can follow instructions. You are observant. You noticed I prefer my scotch with a single large ice cube. You anticipated my need for a new glass before I did. You are quiet. These are the only qualifications I require." He says it so matter-of-factly, as if he is discussing a stock portfolio. He had been watching me, every little detail. The realization sends a fresh wave of chills over my skin. We drive for another 20 minutes, leaving the bustling heart of the city behind and heading towards the more exclusive, high-rise residential areas that overlook the bay. The car pulls into a private underground garage and stops in a reserved spot before a sleek metal elevator door. A driver in a crisp uniform gets out to open Julian's door, then mine. I step out on shaky legs, my cheap waitress shoes looking utterly pathetic on the polished concrete floor. Julian leads me to the elevator. He presses a thumb against a small, dark panel which glows green before the doors slide open. There are no buttons inside, only a single, unmarked panel. He gestures for me to enter, and the doors close, the elevator beginning its ascent with a smooth, silent rush that makes my stomach swoop. We are going up. Far, far up. The doors open directly into a living space that takes my breath away. It's not a penthouse. It's a kingdom in the sky. One entire wall is a sheet of glass 2 stories high, revealing a panoramic, glittering vista of the city and the dark water of the bay beyond. The space is vast, minimalist, and cold. White marble floors, Black leather furniture, chrome and glass accents. There are no photographs, no clutter, no personal touches. It's as beautiful, sterile, and intimidating as the man who owns it. It's a showroom, not a home. Your room is this way, he says, his voice echoing slightly in the cavernous space. He leads me down a long white hallway. The air is cool and smells faintly of ozone and something else, something clean and masculine that I recognize as his scent. He stops at a plain white door and pushes it open. The room inside is larger than my entire apartment. Like the rest of the penthouse, it has a floor-to-ceiling window with a stunning view. A large bed with a simple gray duvet dominates the center of the room. There's a sleek, modern desk, and another door that I assume leads to a bathroom. It's luxurious, but as impersonal as a high-end hotel room. There are clothes in the closet, toiletries in the bathroom. A communications tablet is on the desk. Your schedule will be sent to it every morning at 6. My housekeeper, Elena, will be here in the morning. She will answer any domestic questions you have. Any questions about your work, you direct to me, and only me. You will not leave the penthouse without my express permission. Your phone will not work here. You will use the provided tablet for any necessary communication, which I will monitor. Do you understand the terms? A prisoner. He's making me a prisoner in a gilded cage. The words catch in my throat. My bookstore. My father's memory. What will happen to it? My father's bookstore, I whisper. The apartment. My things. The bookstore is no longer on the verge of foreclosure. Its suppliers have been paid. It will be managed until you decide its fate. Your apartment has been cleared out. Your personal effects are in the walk-in closet, he says, gesturing to another door. I am not a monster, Lena. I do not destroy things of value without reason. I have simply consolidated your life under my protection. Protection. The word is a bitter irony. He's the one I need protection from. He has taken over every aspect of my life with a terrifying efficiency. He has isolated me, cut me off from my world, and now he stands there expecting, what, gratitude? Anger, hot and sharp, finally cuts through the fog of fear. You had no right, I say, my voice shaking but firm. I lift my chin, meeting his gaze directly. You can't just buy a person. A flicker of something, surprise, respect, crosses his face before it's gone, replaced by that same cool, unreadable mask. I can, he says, his voice dangerously soft. And I have. You are in my home in my debt and under my rules. You would do well to remember that. Sleep. Your new life begins tomorrow. He pulls the door shut, the click of the latch echoing in the silent room like a cell door locking. I'm left alone, standing in the middle of a stranger's room, in a stranger's life. I walk to the massive window and press my hands against the cool glass. The city sprawls below me, a beautiful, indifferent tapestry of lights. I am up so high, completely disconnected from the world I knew. I feel like I'm on another planet. Tears I didn't know I was holding back begin to slide down my cheeks, hot and silent. I'm trapped, and the only way out is through him. The first week is a study in tension and silence. I live in a state of hyper-awareness, my every nerve ending frayed. The penthouse is my world, a silent, sterile labyrinth of white walls and polished surfaces. Julian is a phantom within it. He leaves before I wake, a disembodied set of instructions on the tablet by my bed. Review the quarterly reports for sterling imports. Summarize any anomalies. cross-reference these shipping manifests, flag any vessel originating from Macau, compile a dossier on a man named Dmitry Volkov. The work is demanding, far beyond anything I've ever done. I spend hours at the sleek desk in my room, my literature degree feeling like a flimsy shield against the harsh, unforgiving language of international finance and corporate warfare. But I am a fast learner, driven by a desperate need to prove I am not just some damsel he plucked from a ballroom. I find the anomalies, I flag the ships, I build the dossier. I send my completed work to him through the secure network, and in return, I receive only silence. No praise, no criticism, just the next set of tasks. I see him only in the evenings. He returns late, the faint sound of the private elevator, the only announcement of his arrival. He finds me in the vast living area, where I've taken to reading from the surprisingly well-stocked library I discovered hidden behind a sliding wall. He doesn't speak to me. He simply pours himself a scotch, stands by the great window for a time, and then disappears into his wing of the penthouse, a part of the apartment I have not been invited to explore. We are two ghosts haunting the same house, separated by an invisible wall of power and fear. The only human warmth comes from Elena, the housekeeper. She is a small, older woman with kind, wrinkled eyes and a quiet efficiency that puts me at ease. She arrives each morning, humming softly as she moves through the apartment, bringing with her the scent of lemon polish and fresh coffee. She speaks to me in a mixture of heavily accented English and gentle smiles, leaving a tray of food outside my door for lunch, as if I were a frightened animal she was trying to coax out of hiding. "He is a difficult man, Mr. Thorne," she says to me one afternoon, her voice soft as she catches me staring out the window, tracing the path of a tiny boat on the bay. The world has not been kind to him, so he has decided to be unkind to the world first. "Why me, Elena?" I ask, the question that haunts my every waking moment. Why did he pick me? She gives me a sad, knowing smile and pats my arm. He saw something. In your eyes, something he recognized, I think, something lost. Her words offer no comfort, only a deeper, more unsettling mystery. My life settles into this strange, suspended rhythm. Days of intense, silent work and long, lonely nights. I explore the penthouse during my downtime. It's a fortress. Every window is made of reinforced glass. The security system is a complex web of sensors and cameras. There is no way out except through the elevator he controls. The feeling of being a prisoner solidifies. Yet, my personal belongings are all here, neatly arranged in the cavernous closet. He has even brought the contents of my father's bookstore, not the stock, but the personal effects from his small back office. His worn reading chair, his favorite pipe, a box of old photographs. I find them one afternoon in a storage room and break down, sobbing amidst the ghosts of a life that was stolen from me. This act of calculated, cruel kindness is the most confusing thing of all. He gives me the cage, but also the mementos of what I've lost. One evening, about 2 weeks into my confinement, the routine is broken. I'm in the library, curled up in a large armchair with a book of poetry, when the elevator chimes. It's earlier than usual. I tense, expecting Julian. But the woman who steps out is not him. She is tall, impossibly elegant, and stunningly beautiful, with raven black hair pulled into a severe chignon and a blood-red dress that clings to her like a second skin. Her eyes, cold and blue, sweep the room with an air of ownership before they land on me. A slow, disdainful smile curves her red lips. "Well, well," she says, her voice a low, condescending purr. She stalks toward me, her heels clicking like gunshots on the marble floor. "So you're the little charity case, the stray Julian picked up. I'm Isabella." She says her name as if it should mean something to me. Perhaps it should. She carries herself with the confidence of someone who belongs here, someone who knows the secrets of this cold, empty place. I stand up slowly, placing my book on the chair. My simple gray sweater and black trousers feel like a pauper's rags in the face of her crimson glamour. "I'm Lena. I know who you are," she scoffs, circling me like a shark. The whole city is whispering about it. Julian Thorne, the hermit, suddenly acquires a live-in pet. Tell me, does he have you sleeping in a basket at the foot of his bed? Her words are designed to wound, to diminish me. The old Lena would have shrunk away, intimidated. But 2 weeks in this silent war zone have forged something new in me. A sliver of steel has grown around my heart. "If you're looking for Julian, he's not here," I say, my voice steady, betraying none of the frantic pounding of my pulse. "Oh, I know," she says with a dismissive wave of her hand, which is adorned with a diamond the size of a pigeon's egg. "I'm here to see you, to give you a piece of friendly advice. Whatever game you think you're playing, you can't win. Julian gets bored easily. He'll grow tired of his new toy and then he'll throw it away. Don't make the mistake of thinking you're special." "I don't think anything," I reply coolly. "I work for him." Isabella lets out a short, brittle laugh. "Is that what he's calling it? How quaint. Listen to me carefully, little waitress. I have years invested in Julian, a history you can't possibly comprehend. You are a temporary diversion, a footnote. When this is over, I'll be the one here, so stay out of my way." Her threat hangs in the air, venomous and sharp. Before I can respond, the elevator chimes again. This time, it is Julian. He steps out, his gaze immediately taking in the scene. He looks from Isabella's defiant posture to my rigid one. His face, already a hard mask, seems to freeze over entirely. An arctic cold emanates from him, dropping the temperature of the room by 10 degrees. "Isabella," he says, and his voice is flat, devoid of all emotion. It is the most terrifying sound I have ever heard. "What are you doing here?" "Jules, darling," she purrs, her demeanor shifting instantly to one of seductive charm, though the malice in her eyes remains. "I was in the neighborhood. I thought I'd stop by. I was just getting to know your new employee." Julian's eyes move to me. "Has she been bothering you, Lena?" The question shocks me. He is asking for my side. He is including me, in front of her. It's a subtle but significant shift in the power dynamic. Isabella's smile falters for a fraction of a second. I lift my chin. She was just leaving. A dangerous silence descends. Julian looks at Isabella, his expression utterly unyielding. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. His quiet is more menacing than any shout. "You are no longer welcome here," he says to her, each word a chip of ice. "Your access code has been revoked. If you attempt to come here again, my security will remove you, forcibly. Goodbye." Isabella's face pales, the color draining from beneath her perfect makeup. The mask of confident superiority shatters, revealing a flash of raw, desperate fury. She glares at me, a look of pure hatred that promises future conflict. Then, without another word, she turns on her heel and stalks back to the elevator, her back ramrod straight. The doors slide shut, and she is gone. The silence she leaves behind is profound. I stand there, my body trembling with adrenaline. Julian hasn't moved. He is watching me, his expression still impossible to decipher. He just defended me. He chose me in that moment over her. He protected me. It's a gesture so at odds with the man who bought my life and imprisoned me that my mind struggles to reconcile the two. "Thank you," I whisper, the words feeling inadequate. He gives a short, sharp nod. "She will not bother you again. No one will." He walks over to the bar and pours his customary scotch. But instead of turning to the window, he turns back to me. "The work you did on the Volkov dossier," he says, changing the subject abruptly. "You found the connection to the Shell Corporation in Cyprus. My intelligence team missed that." It's the first time he has ever acknowledged my work. The unexpected praise sends a strange warmth spreading through my chest. I just followed the money transfers. They were trying to hide it behind 3 layers of transactions. But the initial seed money all came from the same source. He looks at me, really looks at me, for the first time since that night at the Gala. It's not the look of an owner assessing his property, but of a man seeing an equal. "You have a mind for patterns," he says. It's not quite a compliment, more a statement of fact. "Good. I have a new project for you." He walks away toward his office, and after a moment's hesitation, I follow. He has opened a door for me, just a crack, into his world. And despite every instinct telling me to run, I find myself stepping through it. The armor has a chink in it, and I have just seen the man inside. The dynamic in the penthouse shifts after the incident with Isabella. The silence between us is still present, but it's no longer a heavy, oppressive blanket. It's thinner now, more breathable, laced with a new kind of awareness. He starts leaving his office door open when he works from home in the evenings. Sometimes he'll call me in, not to give instructions, but to ask for my opinion on a complex financial structure or a coded piece of correspondence. He listens to my answers, his gaze intense, his expression thoughtful. I am no longer just a data processor. I am becoming a strategist. I learn to read his moods. The slight tightening of his jaw means a deal is going south. The way he rubs his thumb over the rim of his scotch glass means he is deep in thought, wrestling with a problem. I learn the rhythms of his life, the long hours, the immense pressure, the profound isolation at the top of his ruthless empire. I see the cost of his power. One night, a savage storm rolls in from the bay. It throws itself against the penthouse with a primal fury. Rain lashes against the great glass walls, and the wind howls like a banshee. The city lights below are obscured by a thick, swirling curtain of gray. The storm feels like a reflection of the turmoil inside this apartment, of the tempestuous, unspoken thing that is growing between us. We are in his office, a space as minimalist and controlled as the rest of the penthouse, dominated by a massive obsidian desk and a bank of monitors displaying stock tickers and news feeds. I'm showing him a discrepancy I found in a set of accounts for a company he's planning to acquire. "Here," I say, pointing to a line item on the screen. "It's a consulting fee, paid out to a holding company. But the holding company is a ghost. It has no employees, no assets. It's a shell designed to siphon money out. The CFO is stealing from them. He leans closer to look, his shoulder brushing against mine. A spark of electricity jumps between us. A sudden, shocking heat in the cool, sterile room. I pull back slightly, my breath catching. He seems to feel it too. He straightens up, his expression unreadable, and for a moment, the only sounds are the raging storm outside and the frantic beating of my own heart. And then the lights flicker. Once, twice. Before plunging us into absolute darkness. The backup generators should have kicked in instantly, but they don't. The silence is sudden and total. The hum of the electronics, the hiss of the climate control, the faint glow of the monitors, all gone. We are left with only the sound of the wind and the rain, a wild, elemental roar. "Stay here," Julian's voice comes out of the pitch black, calm and commanding. I hear him moving, his footsteps sure and steady even in the dark. A few moments later, a soft, flickering glow appears. He has found a lighter and is lighting a series of thick, white candles on a side table. The candlelight transforms the office. The sharp angles soften. The cold, hard surfaces are bathed in a warm, dancing glow. Shadows leap and writhe on the walls, making the vast space feel smaller, more intimate. Julian stands in the center of the flickering light, his face a chiaroscuro mask of light and shadow. The corporate king is gone, replaced by someone older, more elemental. "The entire building's grid is down," he says, his voice a low rumble, "and the storm has knocked out the primary backup. The secondary will take time to engage. We are trapped in the dark, high above the storm-tossed city. Just the two of us." The thought sends a tremor of fear and a strange, illicit thrill through me. All the structures of our strange relationship, employer and employee, captor and captive, seem to dissolve in the primitive darkness. "Are you afraid of the dark, Lena?" he asks, his voice softer than I've ever heard it. "No," I say, my own voice a little shaky. "I'm not afraid of the dark. I'm afraid of what's in it." A faint smile touches his lips, a rare, startling sight. A wise distinction. He retrieves the bottle of scotch and 2 glasses from the bar in the corner. He pours a small amount into one glass and hands it to me. "Here, it will warm you up." I take the glass, my fingers brushing against his. The contact is brief, but it lingers like a brand. The scotch is smoky and smooth, its heat spreading through my chest, loosening the knot of anxiety there. We stand in silence for a while, watching the storm. The lightning flashes, illuminating the sky in stark, brilliant white, and for a brief second, I see his face clearly. There's a weariness in his eyes that I've never seen before, a deep, profound sadness that he usually keeps so well hidden behind his mask of control. "My brother," he says suddenly, his voice low, directed at the window rather than at me. "He loved storms." I'm stunned into silence. He has never spoken of his family, of his past. The name Julian Thorne seems to have appeared out of nowhere, fully formed, without history or connection. "His name was Michael," Julian continues, his voice rough with an old, unhealed grief. "He was younger than me, the brilliant one, the one everyone loved. I built my first company with him. We were partners. I trusted him with everything. More than my life." He takes a long drink of his scotch. The candlelight flickers across a thin, white scar that runs through his left eyebrow, a detail I'd never noticed before. When our company was on the verge of a major breakthrough, a rival corporation made a play for us, a hostile takeover. They had inside information, financial projections, research data, our entire strategy. Someone had betrayed us. It was Michael. The confession hangs in the air, raw and painful. I can almost picture it, the two brothers, the trust, the devastating betrayal. He sold us out for a pittance, for a quick payoff and a seat on their board. It destroyed the company. It destroyed me. I lost everything. My reputation, my money, my brother. All in one day. He turns from the window to face me, his eyes dark, haunted pools of memory. I was left with nothing but debt and the bitter taste of betrayal. So I rebuilt. I clawed my way back, piece by piece, but I did it alone, and I swore I would never trust anyone like that again. Power is the only thing you can rely on, Lena. Control is the only true safety. His story settles over me, explaining everything. His ruthlessness, his isolation, his need for absolute control. He isn't just a monster. He's a man who was broken and remade himself into something hard and impenetrable so he could never be broken again. He sees betrayal around every corner because he has lived through the worst kind of it. What happened to him? I ask softly. Your brother. A shadow passes over his face. He found out that the quick payoff wasn't enough. The rival company used him and then cast him aside. He lost everything, too. He couldn't live with it. The finality in his tone tells me the rest of the story. An overwhelming wave of empathy washes over me. So strong, it's dizzying. I see the lonely boy inside the powerful man, the brother who still mourns, the one he lost both to betrayal and to death. Without thinking, I take a step toward him. I'm so sorry, Julian, I whisper. He looks at me, his gaze searching my face in the flickering light, as if looking for the lie, the angle, the pity. But all he finds is genuine sorrow. He seems to unravel slightly, the iron control he maintains at all times, loosening its grip. He closes the distance between us in a single, silent step. He is so close, I can feel the heat radiating from his body. He lifts a hand, his fingers hesitating for a moment before they gently touch my cheek. His thumb brushes away a tear I didn't even realize had fallen. His touch is not proprietary or controlling. It is incredibly, achingly gentle. Why? He murmurs, his voice thick with a raw emotion I can't decipher. Why do you look at me like that? After everything I've done? I took your life, trapped you here. You didn't, I whisper, my voice trembling. You saved it. I was drowning, and you pulled me out of the water. I might not like the lifeboat you put me in, but I was drowning. His eyes search mine, and what he sees there seems to be the final crack in his armor. He leans in, his head dipping slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away. But I don't. I can't. I stand my ground, my heart hammering, my breath held tight in my chest. His lips meet mine. The kiss is not rough or demanding. It is soft, tentative, a question. It is full of all the grief and loneliness and pain he has carried for years. It tastes of scotch and the storm. I respond instinctively, my own loneliness rising to meet his. My hands come up to rest on his chest, feeling the solid, steady beat of his heart beneath my palms. The kiss deepens, becoming something more, something desperate and hungry. It's a raw, frantic collision of two isolated souls, finding a moment of reprieve in the heart of a storm. In that moment, everything changes, He is no longer my captor. I am no longer his prisoner. We are just a man and a woman, finding shelter in each other while the world rages outside. The power is back on, the lights flickering to life with a sudden, intrusive glare, but we don't break apart. The storm has passed, both outside and in. A new, fragile, and terrifying day is dawning. The morning after the storm, the penthouse is unnaturally bright, the sunlight reflecting off every polished surface with a blinding intensity. The air between Julian and me is charged, thick with the memory of the night before. The kiss has redrawn all the lines. We are no longer employer and employee. We are something else, something undefined and far more dangerous. He is different. The hard, remote edge has softened. He looks at me when I speak, his eyes lingering on my face. He makes coffee for me in the morning, a simple, domestic act that feels earth-shatteringly intimate. We eat breakfast together at the huge marble island in the kitchen, the silence between us no longer tense, but comfortable, filled with unspoken understanding. Our work changes too. We no longer operate from separate rooms. We work side by side in his office, the door wide open. He treats me as a partner, not an assistant. He values my insights, my ability to see the patterns he sometimes misses in his single-minded pursuit of victory. We become a formidable team. The power dynamic hasn't vanished, but it has shifted into a kind of equilibrium. He has the power to destroy worlds, but I, it seems, have the power to calm the storm within him. This new intimacy is a fragile, beautiful thing, and I'm terrified of breaking it. I find myself wanting to know everything about him. The brother he lost, the empire he built from ashes, the man behind the myth. He, in turn, seems to want to know me. He asks about my father, about the bookstore, about my dreams of being a writer that I thought I had long since abandoned. He listens with an intensity that makes me feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in my life. I feel myself falling for him, a slow, terrifying, and inevitable descent. I know the risks. He is a dangerous man with a world full of enemies. But the glimpses of vulnerability he showed me during the storm, the grief, the loneliness, have forged a connection that I can't ignore. I'm starting to feel safe here, in this gilded cage. I'm starting to think of it as a home. But the world outside the penthouse walls has not forgotten us. One afternoon, while Julian is out at a meeting, I am working on deciphering a series of encrypted files related to his ongoing takeover bid of Abernathy's company. It's a complex puzzle, and I am deep in concentration when I stumble upon something that doesn't fit. A protected subdirectory, buried deep within Julian's private server. Its encryption is a level above anything I've seen before. It's not part of the Abernathy files. It's something else entirely. Something personal, curiosity, that fatal human flaw, gets the better of me. I shouldn't look. It's an invasion of his privacy, a violation of the fragile trust we've built. But a nagging unease, a sense that I don't yet have the whole story, compels me forward. I spend the next hour working on the encryption, using a backdoor algorithm I learned about in a cybersecurity journal. Finally, with a soft click, the file opens. Its name is a single word: Bennett. My blood turns to ice. My heart starts to hammer against my ribs. With a trembling hand, I open the first file in the directory. It's a dossier on me, compiled weeks before the Gala. It has everything: my photo, my university transcripts, my financial records, my work history. And then I see the next file. It's a dossier on my father. I click it open. It's far more extensive. Financial records, phone logs, even surveillance photos of him meeting with a man I don't recognize. I read through the notes, my horror growing with every word. My father, the gentle, book-loving man I adored, was in trouble. He had taken out a loan from a shady source to keep the bookstore afloat. He couldn't pay it back. They were blackmailing him. And then I see the name of the man who was blackmailing him, Dmitry Volkov. The same man Julian had me investigating. The same man who is the secret, aggressive force behind the rival company trying to block Julian's takeover of Abernathy's business. The pieces slam into place with a sickening finality. My father wasn't just in debt. He was being forced to feed inside information about Abernathy's company, a company his bookstore did some archival work for, to Volkov. And then the final devastating blow, a transcript of a phone call. It's between Julian and one of his investigators, dated the week after my father's death. The old man had a heart attack, the investigator says. The pressure from Volkov was too much for him. He's dead, but he has a daughter, Lena Bennett. She's inherited his debt, but she knows nothing about his involvement. She could be a liability or an asset. Keep an eye on her, Julian's voice replies, cold and clinical. Volkov will see her as a loose end. I may have a use for her. She is the key to getting inside this. The tablet slips from my numb fingers and clatters onto the desk. A wave of nausea washes over me. It was all a lie. He didn't see sad eyes in a crowded room. He saw an asset, a key. A pawn in his ruthless game against Dmitry Volkov. He didn't save me. He acquired me. He brought me here not for my safety, but to control a variable in his war, to use my connection to my father as leverage. The intimacy, the vulnerability, the kiss in the storm. Was it all a calculated move? A tactic to ensure my compliance, my loyalty? The trust I had so foolishly given him shatters into a million pieces. The feeling of safety evaporates, replaced by a cold, terrifying dread. I am not his partner. I am his tool. The cage is not a home. It has been a cage all along. I feel a rage so pure and white-hot it burns away my tears. Rage at him for his deception. Rage at my father for the secrets he kept. And rage at myself for being so naive, for wanting to believe in the fairy tale, for falling for my captor. The sound of the elevator chimes, announcing his return. I look up, my eyes hard, my heart a block of ice in my chest. He strides into the office, a faint smile on his lips when he sees me, a smile that dies when he sees my face. "Lena?" he asks, his voice laced with concern. "What is it? What's wrong?" I stand up slowly, my movements stiff. I gesture to the screen where the file on my father is still displayed. "You lied to me," I say, my voice low and shaking with fury. All of it was all a lie. His eyes follow my gesture to the screen. He sees what I've found. The mask of control slams back into place, but not before I see a flicker of something else in his eyes. Not guilt, not anger, something that looks terrifyingly like panic. "You weren't supposed to see that," he says, his voice flat. I'll bet I wasn't. I spit, the words dripping with venom. Was any of it real, or was I just the key, an asset to be managed? Did you feel a flicker of anything during that storm? Or were you just running a cost-benefit analysis on the best way to secure my loyalty? Lena, it's not what you think, he starts, taking a step toward me. Don't, I cry, flinching back as if he might strike me. Don't you dare touch me. Don't you dare say another word of your perfectly calculated lies. The pain of his betrayal is a physical thing, a knife twisting in my gut. The man I had started to trust, to care for, to love doesn't exist. He is a phantom, a construct created to manipulate me. I want out, I say, my voice cold and dead. Our deal is over. You can have the debt, you can have the bookstore, I don't care. I want my life back. You can't leave, he says, his voice hard as granite. Not now. Volkov knows I have you. He knows you're the last link to what your father knew. Leaving here doesn't mean you'll be free. It means you'll be dead. And I'm supposed to believe you? I laugh, a harsh, broken sound. You think I'll fall for another one of your stories? You'll say anything to keep your asset under control. Before he can respond, a frantic beeping sound erupts from the security panel on his desk. A red light is flashing. Breach. Level P1, elevator override. Julian's head snaps toward the monitor. His face is pale. He's here, Volkov's men. They've breached the building's security. He turns to me, his eyes blazing with a desperate urgency. The corporate raider is gone, replaced by a soldier facing an ambush. Lena, listen to me. Whatever you believe about me, you have to trust me right now. Our lives depend on it. They're coming for you. The elevator chimes, but it's not the soft, familiar sound. It's a loud, grating clang as the emergency brakes are forced. They aren't coming up in the car. They're on top of it, ascending the shaft. My rage and betrayal are instantly eclipsed by a primal, sickening fear. The threat is no longer a name on a screen. It's real, and it's here. Julian was telling the truth, about the danger at least. He grabs my arm, his grip like iron. We have to move, now. He pulls me from the office, not towards the main living area, but down a narrow corridor I'd never seen, hidden behind a section of the library wall. My mind is reeling. Betrayal, fear, and a sudden, terrifying clarity. My choice is simple. I can cling to my anger and die, or I can trust the man who lied to me, and maybe, just maybe, live. The distant sound of splintering wood and shattering glass echoes from the front of the penthouse. They're in. My heart leaps into my throat. Julian shoves me ahead of him into the hidden passage, plunging us into darkness. He pulls the wall closed behind us. The world outside silenced for a moment. There's a panic room, he says, his voice a harsh whisper in the dark, his breath warm against my ear. But they'll have the schematics. They'll expect it. We're going down. He produces a small, powerful flashlight, its beam cutting a sharp white cone through the dusty air. We are in a narrow service corridor, all exposed pipes and raw concrete, the building's skeleton. It's a stark contrast to the sterile perfection of the penthouse. I explored these when I first bought the building, I hear myself say, my voice surprisingly steady. The hours I spent wandering my cage, learning its secrets, suddenly feel less like a prisoner's pastime and more like reconnaissance. The main service ladder is probably guarded, but there's a ventilation shaft 2 levels down. It's small, but it leads to the west face of the building, away from the main entrance. He stops and turns to me in the narrow space. The flashlight beam illuminates my face. He is looking at me with a new expression, one of genuine surprise and grudging respect. My knowledge of his fortress, knowledge I gained because he imprisoned me here, might be the one thing that saves us. The irony is staggering. "Show me," he says. We move together through the building's hidden arteries, a silent, desperate team. The sounds of destruction from the penthouse above are muffled but still audible. The heavy thud of boots, shouted commands in a language I don't recognize, the crash of something precious being destroyed. They are tearing my gilded cage apart, looking for me. He leads, but I navigate, directing him through the maze of corridors and access panels from memory. His hand is firmly on my back, a constant, reassuring pressure. We are not captor and captive anymore. We are allies, united against a common enemy. The lies and betrayal still hang between us, a toxic cloud, but for now they are secondary to survival. We reach the ventilation shaft. It's exactly as I remembered. A small, grated opening, barely large enough for a person to squeeze through. Julian uses a multi-tool from his pocket to quickly undo the bolts. "You first," he says, holding the grate open. "It's a 30-foot drop to the next access platform. I'll be right behind you." I look at him, at his grim, determined face, illuminated by the single beam of light. I see the man who lied to me, who manipulated me, but I also see the man who defended me from Isabella, who shared his deepest pain with me in a storm, who is now putting himself between me and certain death. The two Julians merge into one complex, flawed, and dangerous man, and in this moment of life or death, I make my choice. I nod, and without hesitation, I slide into the cold, dark metal shaft. I choose to trust him. The descent through the ventilation shaft is a terrifying, claustrophobic ordeal. The metal is cold and slick against my palms, the air thick with the smell of dust and stagnant air. Below me is nothing but blackness. Above me, I hear Julian moving, his progress swift and sure-footed. The sounds from the penthouse have faded, replaced by the frantic thumping of my own heart. We emerge onto a maintenance platform on the building's exterior, 50 stories above the ground. The wind whips around us, cold and fierce, threatening to tear us from our precarious perch. The city lights glitter below, a beautiful, indifferent galaxy. For a moment, we are suspended between the sky and the earth, utterly exposed. Julian points to a service elevator, its doors set flush against the concrete wall. That's our way out. It goes directly to the garage. Marcus will be waiting. Marcus, his head of security, the man he trusts implicitly. But as we approach the elevator, my mind, sharpened by adrenaline and betrayal, catches on a detail, a loose thread in the tapestry of his deception. "How did they get in, Julian?" I ask, shouting to be heard over the wind. "Your security is flawless. They overrode the elevator, bypassed everything. They would have needed the master codes. Who has those codes besides you?" He freezes, his hand on the elevator's call button. The answer dawns on his face, a slow, sickening wave of realization. His eyes go wide with a new kind of horror, one that has nothing to do with Volkov's men. "Only one other person," he whispers, the words snatched away by the wind. "Marcus." The betrayal he suffered from his brother is happening all over again. The man he trusted, his right hand, has sold him out. Before we can process this new treachery, the elevator doors slide open. But it isn't empty. Marcus stands inside, a smug, triumphant look on his face. He holds a pistol, its barrel aimed directly at Julian's heart. And beside him, looking pale but resolute, is Dmitry Volkov, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Julian," Marcus says, his voice dripping with false regret. "I'm sorry it had to be this way, but Mr. Volkov made me a much better offer." "You were my most trusted man," Julian says, his voice dangerously low, the sound of a predator coiling to strike. He shields me with his body, a purely instinctual, protective gesture. "And that was your mistake," Volkov says, stepping forward. His eyes, cold and reptilian, fix on me. "You let sentiment cloud your judgment. You should have eliminated the girl. Her father was a loose end. Now she will be your undoing. Give her to me, Julian, and Marcus might let you walk away." "It's a lie. We all know it. They won't leave any witnesses." My mind races, scrambling for an escape, for any advantage. My gaze darts around the platform. We are trapped. And then I see it. A large red lever on the wall next to the elevator shaft, marked Fire Suppression System Halon Release. During my explorations, I read the building's emergency protocols. The system would flood the entire service core, including the elevator shaft, with gas, suffocating any fire. It would also suffocate any person. It was a last resort. "The girl stays with me," Julian snarls, his body tensing. I know what he's planning. He's going to rush them, sacrifice himself to give me a chance to run, a chance I don't have. But we have another option, a terrible one. I catch his eye. I flick my gaze pointedly toward the red lever. His eyes follow mine, and for a split second, I see confusion, then dawning comprehension. He understands. It's a suicide play. But it's our only play. He gives me the faintest, almost imperceptible nod. He trusts my judgment. He is putting his life in my hands. "You're right, Volkov," Julian says, taking a small step forward, drawing their attention. "Sentiment is a weakness." As he speaks, I lunge for the lever. Marcus shouts, turning his gun toward me, but he's too late. I throw my entire body weight onto the lever, pulling it down with a groan of metal. A deafening alarm blares to life. Red lights flash. Heavy steel doors begin to slam shut, sealing the elevator shaft. Marcus fires, the sound cracking through the air. I feel a searing, white-hot pain in my shoulder, and I cry out, stumbling back. But the halon system is active. A thick, white gas begins to pour from vents in the ceiling, flooding the elevator car. Volkov and Marquez start to choke, their eyes wide with panic as the steel door closes, trapping them in the suffocating cloud. Julian is at my side in an instant, tearing a strip from his shirt and pressing it hard against my shoulder, which is now blooming with a dark, wet stain. "Lena, stay with me," he commands, his voice tight with a fear I have never heard from him before. He pulls me away from the sealed elevator toward a service ladder. We have to get down before the gas reaches this level. The world is starting to spin, the edges of my vision going dark. The pain in my shoulder is a raging fire, but we work together, a single, desperate unit. He half carries, half drags me down the ladder, his strength the only thing keeping me conscious. We descend through the chaos, the alarms blaring, the emergency lights painting everything in a hellish red glow. We finally reach the garage level. The air is clear here. Julian kicks open a fire door and pulls me into the cavernous, empty space. He leans me against a concrete pillar, his hands gentle as he examines the wound. "The bullet went through," he says, his voice strained. That's good, but you're losing a lot of blood. He looks at me, his eyes dark with a maelstrom of emotions. Gratitude, terror, remorse, the lies, the secrets, the betrayals. They all seem so small now, burned away by the fire of the last few minutes. We saved each other. We trusted each other when it mattered most. Why? He asks, his voice cracking. You could have run. Why did you do that? Because you would have done the same for me, I whisper, my head lolling against the cool concrete. I guess I'm not a very good asset. I'm a terrible investment. A tear slides down his cheek, tracing a path through the grime on his face. No, Lana, he says, his voice thick. You're the only thing that was ever real. He lifts me into his arms, as if I weigh nothing, and starts running toward the garage exit, out into the dawning light of a new day. The last thing I hear before the darkness claims me is my name, shouted from his lips like a prayer. I wake up to the steady, rhythmic beeping of a heart monitor and the clean, antiseptic smell of a private hospital room. Sunlight streams through a large window, and for a moment I am disoriented, my mind a fog of pain and memory. My shoulder is heavily bandaged, a dull, throbbing ache radiating from it. Julian is asleep in a chair beside my bed. His head is slumped forward, his hair disheveled. He's still wearing the torn and blood-stained clothes from the night before. His face, in the unforgiving light of day, is etched with exhaustion and fear. The powerful, untouchable Julian Thorne looks broken. Seeing him like this, so unguarded and vulnerable, stirs something deep inside me. He stirs as if sensing my gaze, his head snapping up. His eyes, bloodshot and weary, find mine, and a wave of profound relief washes over his face, so potent it's almost tangible. Lena, he breathes, moving to the edge of my bed. He reaches out as if to touch me, then hesitates, his hand hovering in the air between us. It's over, he says, his voice hoarse. Volkov and Marcus are in federal custody. The attempt on our lives exposed his entire operation. It's all dismantled. And the lie? I ask, my voice weak but clear. Is that over too? He flinches, but he doesn't look away. He meets my gaze, and for the first time I see him without any masks, without any walls. I see the man, raw and exposed. Yes, he says. No more lies. I was investigating Volkov because I suspected he was behind my brother's downfall all those years ago. It turns out I was right. When I started digging, I found your father's name. I found out Volkov was blackmailing him. I didn't know how deep it went until after your father died. When I found you, I saw a way to get justice for what Volkov did to my family and to yours. He finally lets his hand rest on mine. His touch, gentle. My methods were wrong. I saw you as a means to an end. I brought you into my world for my own selfish reasons, telling myself it was to protect you. But it was about control. My control. It's the only way I knew how to operate. I was wrong to lie to you. I was a fool to think I could keep you in a cage and not be captured myself. His confession is simple, honest, and stripped of all artifice. It's the truth I needed to hear. The anger I felt has dissipated, leaving behind a hollow ache. The debt is gone, he continues, his thumb stroking the back of my hand. The bookstore is yours, free and clear, everything is. You are free, Lena. As soon as you're well enough to leave, you can walk away. You never have to see me again. That is the truth. He is offering me the one thing I thought I wanted more than anything: my freedom. The ability to go back to my old life, to the quiet world of books and solitude. But as I look at him, at the man who has turned my world upside down, who has lied to me and saved me, who has shown me the darkest parts of himself and the most vulnerable, I realize that my old life no longer exists. I am not the same woman who served champagne at a gala. That woman is gone. I have been remade in the fire of his world, and I can't go back, and I don't want to. What if I don't want to go? I ask softly. He looks up, his eyes wide with a fragile, burgeoning hope. Lena, you brought me into your life with a contract based on lies, I say, my voice growing stronger. It was about debt and obligation. If I stay, it can't be that. It has to be something new. A partnership based on truth, no more secrets, no more control, just us. A slow, genuine smile spreads across his face, a smile so radiant it transforms him, chasing away the last of the shadows. It's the first real smile I have ever seen from him. Us, he repeats, the word full of wonder. He lifts my hand to his lips and presses a soft kiss to my knuckles. I would like that more than you can possibly imagine. The original agreement is void, destroyed by betrayal and bloodshed. But here, in the quiet, sunlit hospital room, we make a new one. It's not a contract written in ink, but a pact sealed with a look, a touch, a shared understanding. It's a choice freely made. He chose to let me go, and I am choosing to stay. The external threat is gone, the mystery solved. All that's left is the greatest risk of all, building a future together, not as captor and captive, but as equals. The king has willingly abdicated his throne, and the pawn has become his queen. I walked into his world soaked, shaking, and furious, a waitress with more debt than options. And somehow, in the middle of a violent night and 1,000 terrible choices, I wound up choosing him. Not because he rescued me perfectly or because his methods were ever clean. Because when the world tore itself open, he stood in the gap with me. He shared his grief, he taught me his language, and against every sane impulse, I taught him how to let someone in. So here I am, bandaged and stubborn, with my father's bookstore safe and a new kind of bargain on the table. No contracts, no cages. Just two very flawed people who decided to try being honest. It's terrifying. It's messy, it's real, and it feels impossibly like home. If you came for the storm and stayed for the quiet after, thank you for reading me into the light. Tell me in the comments, would you have pulled that lever, run, or loved him anyway? Hit like if you felt my pulse during the chase. Subscribe if you want more dangerous, slow burn romances. And ring the bell so we can meet back here next week for another story that starts in chaos and tries, somehow, to end in something like grace. Until then, keep your heart brave, your books loved, and your hands ready to choose